SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
It's been a few weeks since we had a Latin American update on iGaming Daily sponsored by Optimove. While Brazil regulatory approval has been the talking point of the year so far, there's more smaller stories circulating the other regions, and today I'm joined by SBC Noticias editor Lucía Gando and SBC Noticias Brazil journalist Isadora Marcante to do a tour across these regions to get updated on the goings on through different sectors. Myself, I'm Fernando, Noodt, a business journalist for SBC Noticias. I'll be hosting today. We don't have the pleasure of being with our beloved James Ross, but I'll do my best to host this the best I can. Girls, how are you today?
Hello. Thank you for the intro, Fer. Happy to be here with you guys.
I'm really well, thank you. How are you doing, Fer? I'm really happy to be here too, with Lou, with you. It's nice.
It's really nice. It's really nice to be back on the iGaming Daily podcast because we haven't done this in a few weeks, like we said. I'm really hot right now. We are in the southern hemisphere, so it's really, really hot. Probably the guys up north are envying us for being hot, but we are envying you guys as well for being cold. So we can be miserable together. But we are breaking things up slightly different today because this podcast will be split into three segments, with the first looking at various financials. The second, we will look into sponsorship stories that have broken over the past few weeks. And then the third and final part of the show will delve into regulatory stories. But before we get into that, it's time to mention the sponsor of the iGaming Daily podcast, Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. 56% of the EGR Power 50 personalized player experiences with Optimove. Visit Optimove at ICE. Please mention you listen to our episode and get an Amazon gift card. And as another special offer, Optimove are offering new clients a first month when they buy Optimove. So for more information and claim this free month, please go to optimove.com/SBC. Links will also be left in the podcast episode description. And now we'll go right into the information about the financial situation in Latin America. We have a couple of stories going on, some updates about different regions. And let's just dive right into Puerto Rico and Colombia. Lu, what do you go first and let us know what happened there?
Okay, yeah. Well, in Puerto Rico, have published the economical result of 2023. It's all regarding the lottery, which is split in traditional lottery and electronic lottery, as they call it, the online lottery. And both sectors have shown constant growth since 2016. So they celebrated that this year. The traditional lottery reported a growth of to $242 million last year. So that's a lot. And the electronic lottery, which is divided in different games, to say so, gathered $13.3 million last year. So those are good numbers. It hasn't been released, the whole report, so this is like a previous report on only the lottery sector. But yes, we saw the same in Colombia. We don't have the full results of sports betting or iGaming, but we saw that lotteries grew as well to 3.59 billion of pesos, Colombian pesos, last year. So yeah, it was highly celebrated
Well, I can wait to hear about the Puerto Rico report, the full report. Looks like good things are coming there. But when we speak of growth, there's nothing that's growing faster than Brazil, the Brazilian market that had some growth actually in the expense Brazilians made on last year, right, Isa?
Yes, that's right. Our central bank actually published a report on how people spend their money, and it was noticed that 54 billion BRL were spent in sports betting. That's a lot of money, a lot of money. And that shows also that in the report, it shows also that the central bank confirmed that there was like a very significant increase on the amount of money that people spend on online games and online sports betting. But the other departments, let's say like that, the other segments that people usually spend money, such as cultural sightseeing and or other cultural services, we didn't notice an increase of spending money. So the industry, the online casino and sports betting industry grew a lot, and the other ones just remained the same, which is insane. And we also have another data that shows that 15% of the Brazilian population bets bet or have bet on online. So it's just a huge amount. Of course, we don't have a lot of parameters and a lot of data to base or other financial reports that we should have done, but we will when we have a fully regulated market. But to have this amount of money being spent is just a lot. It's 54 billion, not million, it's billion BRL that people spend last year. So actually between January and November 2023. So it's just huge.
So yeah, things definitely look bright in Brazil as well, but let's not jump ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about regulation in a few moments. So stay tuned to our podcast. Please don't close your preferred reproduction app. But now let's go talk about something a little bit less, a little bit worse, let's say. It's not all good news in the iGaming Daily podcast because Enjoy, the operator, the casino operator out of Chile, which has some properties across South America, has announced that it will start a new financial reorganization process only 2 years after completing the one they had already done before. Let's go back real quick to 2022. Enjoy has just finished a very complex process and paid 100% of its debt, but it seems like the operator has decided to put some ambitious, let's say, ambitious targets for what's next for the company. So back to January 2024, the company realizes they have not been able to fulfill those expectations and have announced a new reorganization process to get their accounts straight. Amid this whole thing, CEO Eliseo Garcia steps down to chase new professional goals, and Esteban Rigorrigui comes in as an interim. He, as in Rigorrigui, explained that it has been estimated that this is the best alternative to give sustainability to society and create new bases to adequately, sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, to adequately project into the future, especially considering the well-being of its employees, clients, suppliers, and creditors. He also said that the post-pandemic performance of the casino industry as a whole has been lower than expected. So that caused themselves to fail reaching their own goals, and I'm talking about Enjoy, of course. And of course, the market did not hesitate on selling Enjoy stocks as its value dropped 40% to 52 cents a share after the announcement of a new financial organization process for Enjoy. Now we're going to do a quick ad break, but stay with us because we're going to talk about sponsorships right after.
Brazil, a global economic powerhouse, deeply passionate about sports, and now home to one of the hottest markets in gaming. And we're giving it the full SBC treatment.
Join industry leaders, market experts, and all the major players in the country for 3 days of content, exhibition, and epic networking at the first ever SPC Summit Rio.
And we are back with the iGaming Daily podcast. And let's talk sponsorships. Like we said, there's a bit overpopulation, I say, or saturation rather in the Brazilian market. Betting sponsorships are everywhere. Pretty much every team in the first two divisions of football have their own sponsorship deal with a betting company, but there are other segments that can be they can take advantage of. So, Isa, why don't you take us through that?
Well, since we've been talking about regulating the Brazilian market from last year, since the beginning of last year, a lot of sponsorships happened. We could see like an increase when the months went by. But since the regulation was published in the end of December, on the 30th of December, we saw an increase much higher. It went super up. So we can see a lot of sponsorships being done in Brazil. But I must mention one that really caught everyone. I think it was the Corinthians one first. PixBet, which is like a Brazilian sports betting operator, offered 150 million BRL to sponsor Corinthians for 2 seasons. But then VaideBet, another sports betting operator, made another offer, and now Corinthians will receive 120 million per season to get to be sponsored by VaideBet, and the contract is valid until 2026. Is the biggest sponsorship they will ever seen in Brazil. Is just, I don't want to people like to sound.
They really decided to break the piggy bank there. I mean, that's a lot of money, really. I just couldn't believe it when I saw the Corinthians deals. It's just insane. And as an Argentinian football fan, I must say I am deeply concerned about these huge deals that are happening in Brazil, because of course all this money results into better facilities for the team to train, and of course better players the teams can hire. So I'm really, really concerned. Even though Boca is not playing the Copa Libertadores this year, I'm so sad about that. But it's really it's really an issue for Argentinian teams.
But I think even for other Brazilian teams, like I think we'll level up the game, like just by offering this amount of money. It's just like it's just absurd. Don't get me wrong, but it's just absurd.
Yeah, it's definitely is. It definitely feels absurd, but there's not only deals in Brazil happening, because speaking of sponsorships, Betson Group has been really investing in football sponsorships and have now announced Paolo Guerrero, the Peruvian striker, as their new brand ambassador for Latin America. Of course, he will provide a very big exposure for Betson in Peru, especially, but of course all around Latin America as well. Paolo Guerrero, of course, shows he was very excited to join Betson Group, which already has deals, like I said, with major teams all across the continent, like Boca Juniors, Racing Club. Actually, both our teams, Lou, is Boca Juniors and Racing Club are both sponsored by Betson. In Colombia, they have Atlético Nacional as well. So Betson is really reinforcing their leading position in Latin America, like commercial director Andrea Rossi said. So we can surely expect Betson to continue signing deals like they have just did with Paolo Guerrero in Peru for the whole Latin American region. But of course, there are more things happening in Argentina and in the continent as well. And Lou, why don't you talk us through what the Argentinian Football Association has just signed for themselves?
Yeah, well, the AFA, as we say, it just signed a contract with Bitconstruct. This is the new regional sponsor of the AFA in Europe. So we are going to expect some activations on Europe regarding the Argentinian football. we know that the national football team has been generating a lot of engagement online after winning the World Cups. So Pip Construct can really take advantage of this popularity, and also for the Argentinian football to keep reaching new audiences globally to expand our talent before Brazil took it all away with all the great deals.
Yeah, definitely. But the AFA actually the AFA has signed a few of these deals, not only in Europe but also in Asia, in India. They have signed a lot of big sponsorship deals, so they are growing as a brand. It's a great work the marketing team is doing from the AFA. So it's not surprising that they finally, or that they got another sponsor in Europe, but also sponsoring the Ecuadorian league, which is a market, a very interesting market right now, is a local operator, Lou.
Yeah, we are now calling the national tournament the Liga Pro Ecuabet. Ecuabet is a sports betting platform from Ecuador, which is now the main sponsor of Liga Pro. So yes, Ecuador is
it's growing. It's really growing as a market. Yeah. And I mean, signing one of these deals is, I feel like, very important, because when you say or where you see rather the football league, you will always see the brand. So it's really big for Ecuabet to sign this deal, right? And Ecuador is really growing. But do you have any more details of this deal?
Yes, it's going to be for a few years, and we are expecting like 5 years, maybe more. And it's starting now on February 16th to the new tournament, and it's already be called Liga Pro Ecuabet. So yes, it's starting this season, and we are expecting 5 more seasons of this agreement. And while we see sports betting growing in Ecuador, which is still a very gray market, but has been showing some interest in regulating and keeping up with other countries in the region.
Yeah, definitely regulation is coming for Ecuador, but we'll talk about that right after this very, very, very brief ad break.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
And we're back with the iGaming Daily Podcast for our last segment of this episode. And we are talking about what's going on in Chile, because not everything is bad, because, of course, we mentioned what's going on with Enjoy, but there's some good news about regulation, Lou.
Yes. The year started with a new advance on the regulation of Chile. The regulator, the Superintendencia de Casinos de Juego of Chile, presented the project of iGaming regulation to the deputies, the Chamber of Deputies. It was first addressed in Commission, Economical Finance Commission, I think, and they review all the proposals. But yeah, the government, through the regulator, is pushing for this regulation to come out as soon as possible, to count with more regular framework to work with the companies that already exist in Chile. So that's the good news. We still haven't heard anything, no feedback from the deputies, but we're expecting the regulation to be debated soon.
And hopefully we can see some advances in Ecuador as well, which was about to break a 13-year-old ban on all forms of gambling as part of President Daniel Noboa's plans to survey the population on several policy points. But unfortunately, this public survey has been dropped because Ecuador has started their year with a very strong social crisis right after this survey was introduced, was announced. In question number 11 of this survey, the government wanted to know whether the population was in favor of all forms of gambling to be legalized. But unfortunately, like we said, they won't be doing this survey amid of this whole crisis. But there's some big breaking news in Ecuador, as Play Green has just landed in that market ahead of these regulatory breakthroughs. So we'll have to we can expect actually to see Play Green thriving in this market. And actually, I had a very great chat with their CEO Nathan Dion, who was explaining how they are very excited to land in Ecuador and expect to become a top 2 brand there. So you can read about it in SBC Noticias. We will leave the link in the description for that featured interview. And of course, if we talk about Play Green, many of you might have already heard about them because they have a strong presence in Brazil, where there have also been some smaller breakthroughs after the legalization, the passing of the bill, the signing actually of the bill by President Lula da Silva. I don't know if I have Isa Marcante right now ready to speak about it, to talk about it.
Yes. So right after the bill was published, the CONAR, which is our self-advertising regulated body in Brazil, just published a document that they called Anexo X, which is a document ruling out everything related to advertising. So if that's the guide to go to for the operators, like if they want to promote in Brazil, they have to follow those rules. So it's just like things that we see all the time in regulated markets already, like play with responsibility. If the fund stops, stop playing. Don't advertise for people that are minors. Don't engage with false advertising words when you're promoting gambling in your Instagram, such as like you're gonna have an extra income or you're gonna bet you're gonna win. It's a guaranteed money. So it's just like the gift for us who work with the industry know that are very basic for everyone who want to operate, but it was really nice that they published this immediately after the bill was signed by our president. And also they are working on the law ordinances in Brazil, the famous portarias that we call here, because the market is not fully regulated yet. We took the first step, which was legalizing online games and regulating the sports betting, but we have to mention that only fixed odds games will be allowed, which is maybe it's a story for another time that we can discuss this more in depth. But they are working on portarias right now in these law ordinances that will dictate the rules for every single sector within the industry. And right now they are working on the advertising portaria. So they will set specific rules for everyone who wants to promote gambling in Brazil. Of course, respecting the rules already created by CONAR, our self-regulated body for advertising. And yes, we just have to, again, I'm going to say that phrase again, wait and see when this is going to be published so we can have more knowledge of what they are going to write down in this law ordinance.
Hashtag wait and see Brazil, right? But we'll surely see some good news from that side in the near future, and we will be ready to break it down for you in the iGaming Daily podcast, brought to you by Optimove, sponsored by Optimove. So this has been all for today, but I'm hoping you will join us in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.